Hey, could you go across the street and get me a slice of pizza?
No pizza, only Khlav Kalash.
Oh, shoo. All right. Give me one bowl.
No bowl, stick.
Oh, jeez. That's just awful.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Binging with Babish, where this week we're taking a look at a real white whale of mine, Khlav Kalash and crab juice from an iconic scene in The Simpsons. As you can see, I've scored a can of the crab juice right here, so let's give this stuff a try. And I gotta say, it's not bad, especially when the only other option is Mountain Dew. But if I'm being honest, probably the only reason I like this is because it's just a can of Polar Toasted Coconut Seltzer with a sticker on it. But as a YouTuber, I think I've done my job here. I converted the logo to a smart object, I ordered special stickers, and okay fine, I will try real crab juice. About the only source of which I could find is in a can of crab meat, along with what I think is an upsettingly long piece of paper. Don't worry, the crab is going to go to good use in next week's episode, but for now its precious juices are going in my mouth. Alright, here we go. Come on Andy, this is why they pay the big bucks. And as you can imagine, it's not great. I've never just taken a shot of clam juice before, but I imagine it's like that, but with crab. But in terms of beverages, that got me thinking. One of my favorite cocktails, the michelada, famously utilizes clam juice in the form of clamato. So I'm going to make some crab motto, combining 1 ounce of crab juice with 4 ounces of tomato juice. Tiny whisk to combine, give it a little sniff to make everybody uncomfortable, and we're going to use it to build our cocktail over ice. Adding 4 ounces of the crab motto juice along with a few dashes of Worcestershire sauce, a few dashes of hot sauce, preferably a Mexican one, not Frank's, a tiny dash of soy sauce, the juice of half of 1 lime, and then the whole thing gets topped off with a frosty light beer. How much or how little depends on your taste and the size of your container. Give it a little mix and let's see how it tastes. And now this is actually not bad. It pretty much tastes the exact same as a michelada, sort of like a Bloody Mary you could bring to the beach. So that's our palatable crab juice. What about the Khlav Kalash? The vendor and written language appear to be vaguely Middle Eastern, so I think the best bet here is kofta. I'm starting by soaking my wood skewers for at least 30 minutes, then finally mincing 4 cloves of garlic and 2 small shallots, and I'm placing those in a cold pan, which I'm going to place over medium-low heat, adding about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and once it starts to bubble, cooking gently for 2 to 3 minutes. Much like with pasta aglio olio, this is going to ensure that the garlic and shallots do not burn, but rather only turn a very light golden brown. I'm going to strain it through a fine mesh sieve, hang on to that garlic and shallot oil for my next salad, and allow to cool completely before building the kofta, which I'm going to make from 1 pound of ground lamb, our cooled shallot and garlic, 2 teaspoons of ground coriander, and 1.5 teaspoons of ground cumin, preferably toasted and freshly ground, 1/4 teaspoon cayenne pepper, 1 large egg white, this is going to give the kofta some structure, and some fresh herbs, 1 tablespoon finely minced fresh mint, and 3 tablespoons fresh parsley. I'm also going to season with about a teaspoon each kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper. Now it's time to make paste. And I mean that quite literally. You really want to massage the hell out of this stuff. Sort of the opposite of what you would do with a burger, this is going to make the meat cook up firm and tight, which is going to help it stick to the stick, upon which we are now going to impale it, shaping into a roughly 3-ounce long narrow meatball, shoving a stick in one of the business ends, and by the tip of the tail, smearing said meat onto the stick. This too is going to help prevent the meat from falling off the stick. These are more of the traditional kofta shape, which I want to make both for demonstration and because they're going to be my dinner this week. But I'm also going to make some big old lopsided ones to better resemble Khlav Kalash. Once shaped, these guys should hang out in the fridge for half an hour before grilling. But one of the primary characteristics of Khlav Kalash is that it looks gross, and kofta looks famously beautiful. I mean, it's a grilled meatball. So how do we match that aesthetic? To me, the Khlav Kalash looked almost hairy, so I wanted to figure out how I could make hair in meat form. The answer? Pork floss, a kind of Chinese pork that's been shredded so finely and dried so thoroughly that it almost resembles cotton, or sort of like a meaty dryer lint. It tastes relatively nondescript, so I thought it'd be a good way to give our Khlav Kalash that nasty aesthetic. But of course I wanted to try making it myself. I've got 1.5 pounds of pork tenderloin that I'm cutting into 1-inch chunks, dropping into some boiling water and gently cooking for about 5 minutes. This is going to cause some impurities and scum to rise to the surface that we're going to skim off using our handy dandy scum skimmer. Discard that nasty looking stuff, and then we're going to drain the pork, thoroughly wash out the pot, refill it with water, and thoroughly rinse the pork. These excess proteins could cause issues down the line, and removing them ensures that we're going to have pork that we could floss with. Not literally, but you know what I mean. Add the rinsed pork back to 6 cups of clean boiling water. Walk away, then realize that there are 2 pieces still in the colander, dump those out, and now we're going to gently simmer the pork with some aromatics. 4 slices slices of fresh ginger, 1 cinnamon stick and 1 star anise pod, the greens of 2 roughly chopped green onions, and 1 tablespoon each dark soy sauce and for some reason light soy sauce. Cover this guy up and maintain a bare simmer for 45 to 60 minutes until the pork is relatively tender considering how lean it is, and the thickest part of the thickest pieces register 205 degrees Fahrenheit. As you can see, the pork is dry, but it falls apart easily. So now we're going to pick out the pork pieces and put them on a plate, discard the other stuff, and then we're going to let these dried out little nuggets cool completely before engaging in rather an interesting procedure. About a dozen nuggets at a time, we're going to smash this pork using a rolling pin. I know, right? Seems odd, but it actually ends up being very necessary. After rolling and re-rolling 5 or 6 times, the meat fibers get stretched and spread to their very limits, allowing us to create finer, longer shreds of pork, which we're going to achieve by grabbing a handful at a time and rubbing it between the palms of our hands, repeating until the little wisps of pork are as fine as possible. After doing this with a full 1.5 pounds of pork, which yielded a better forearm workout than any I've ever done on purpose, I found that incorporating a thumb into the rubbing motion really got things across the finish line faster. And why are you laughing? Once all our pork is shredded as finely as can be, we're going to drop it into a wok along with a tablespoon of coconut oil, where we're going to gently toast it over medium-low heat. This stuff is pretty pale and mildly flavored, so we're going to combine a 1/4 teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice powder with 1 to 2 teaspoons dark soy sauce, drizzle that over top, and gently cook, drying out the pork over medium-low heat for 10 to 15 minutes. Now, this is the exact moment when I realized that I was combining pork with Turkish cuisine, which felt a bit insensitive considering its very large Muslim population. So I wanted to see, could I make meat floss from meat other than pork? I have here 1.5 pounds of similarly lean eye-round beef, which I'm going to give the same treatment: boiling, skimming, scumming, this time in addition to the soy sauce, flavoring with cinnamon, thyme, cumin, bay leaf, rosemary, and cloves to bring a slightly more Turkish vibe. Same roll, smash, and shred technique, some now extremely tired forearms, and back to the wok for the same low temperature drying method, still adding soy sauce for a bit of color. 10 to 15 minutes later, and there you have it, beef floss. I'm going to spread this stuff out evenly on a large rimmed baking sheet while it's still hot so that any remaining moisture evaporates. Alright, there's our hair made from meat. While that cools and dries, it's time to make some kofta. Outside, I've got all 4 burners on my grill heating to max for 10 to 15 minutes or until terrifyingly hot. Then I'm going to turn the burners all the way down and season the grates using vegetable oil. Shut down the lid, crank the burners back up, and let things cure for about 10 minutes. Then I'm turning the burners down on one side of the grill, placing the kofta on the hot side of the grill and searing for 2 to 3 minutes per side. Turns out even if you soak your sticks, they can still definitely catch on fire, so try to place the meat directly over the flame and let the stick hang over the cooler side of the grill. I'm giving these guys a flip and repositioning them so they don't continue to be on fire. I'm going to give those another 2 to 3 minutes until I get some good grill marks, and then we're scooting things over to the cooler side of the grill, where these guys are going to come up to temp over indirect heat. Not only is this going to prevent further flare-ups, it's going to more gently cook the meat, taking anywhere from 7 to 12 minutes to reach an internal temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Remove from the grill and let rest for 5 to 10 minutes before digging in. And what we have here are some very delicious meatballs on a stick. And if I know anything about meat and sticks, it's the bigger the better. So I'm going to do the same procedure here, searing the big boys and moving them off the heat to finish cooking, this time for more like 15 to 20 minutes. That's our completed kofta, so now it's time to complete the look. Rolling it around in our beef floss, covering it in what appears to be hair. And as far as real-life iterations of cartoon foods go, I think that we got pretty close. It's got the same almost unidentifiable form factor, the little sort of dollop on the top. The only deeply inaccurate aspect of it is that it actually tastes really, really good. The beef floss isn't bringing much to the table texture-wise, but it's definitely bringing an extra hit of meaty, spicy flavor. And while it could definitely use some bracing acidic sauce, it and about 2 other of the small ones became my dinner for the evening, and became a member of the Clean Stick Club, a club of which I believe your mom is a founding member. Sorry. Anyway, as always, recreating food from The Simpsons is a lot of fun. But the BCU is headed to Japan in a couple weeks, and we are all ears for your suggestions, ideas, and requests.